travellers did in charity bestow in land and house about £8 a year forever. That was a lot of money in them days. To be laid out onto the highways and causeway leading from Wickhill to Chippenham Cliff. And that was what she had built. It says there, this pillar was set up by the overseers or foreseers 1689.
1698.
Oh yeah, just checking. I'm telling you, I am infallible.
You are fallible, yeah.
I'm gullible. 1689.
98.
Oh yeah, it's because I'm stood here. The 8 comes before the 9.
Oh God.
In that year, 300 years later, in 1998, a car or a motorbike come round there too fast and knocked it over. And it just say, injure me not. But 300 years later, it got it over. And it was knocked down a month, and before the council in their infinite wisdom come up and put it again. So if you go in between Chippenham and Langley Borough, Bremill, along the back roads, is shown on the Ordnance Survey maps, then you can see that a memory of Maudie. Now the next slide. Now who am I going to talk about next? Devices. Anybody heard of Ruth Pierce? No surprising. Now, Devices, obviously, the Bear Hotel pub, it's been famous for royalty and all people. Sorry?
So, did you know the fire on you before?
No, I'm just stripping off.
I'd have hot flushes, it's these lights and nerves.
That's what it is.
When the lights that come on, you see how much I'm blushing. The Bear Hotel was a famous stop-off point for travellers in the Middle Ages. Carriages and even kings and queens stopped off there. And when I did show this slide recently, a lady says, oh, that brings back memories. I used to be a nanny in a nursery up there. She said that was a night nursery and that was a day nursery. And so anyway, I can say to you, there used to be a nursery up there. But Devices still has the market on a Thursday. Not so much cattle market these days. This is the market cross put up by a Boron OMP because he represented Devices and around the Pottern area for 30 odd years. As a member of Parliament, he put that up to himself, which is very interesting. But Ruth Pierce was a young lady. She lived at Pottern, just outside the Devices on the Salisbury Road. One Thursday, her and several of her friends come into the market to buy a sack of wheat. And the girl says, oh, we'll all give Ruth Pierce the money. Ruth Pierce took the money off the girls, give the money to the trader to buy a sack of wheat. And he said there ain't enough money here. Them girls said, we all put our money. And Ruth said, I put my money. And if I didn't, may the Lord strike me down dead. Anyway, just as it happened, just as she said that, some people say a bolt of lightning come out of the sky and killed her. Others say she had a heart attack and died on the floor. Anyway, she was dead, and when they opened her hand, they found the money, what was making to make good to buy the sack of wheat. She thought that she'd get away with not paying her due per pair, the amount of money. And because she said, may the Lord strike me down dead, then of course he did. Now that's a warning. And on that market cross, there's the next slide, tells you about it. Anybody bring some toilet paper? Miles away.
I've been watching for that. And now I missed it.
Yeah, I can't hear, I'm deaf, so you can talk of me. But that, it just say, don't expect you can read it, it just say, on Thursday, the 25th of January, 1753, Ruth Pierce of Pottern, in this county, agreed with 3 other women to buy a sack of wheat in the market, each paying her due proportion towards the same. One of these women in collecting the several quotas of money, discovered a discrepancy and demanded of Ruth Pierce the sum which was waiting to make good. the amount. Ruth Pierce protested that she had paid her share and said she wished she might drop down dead if she had not. She rashly repeated this awful wish, went to the constipation, not constipation, is it? Consternation. To the consternation and terror of the surrounding multitudes, she instantly fell down and expired, having the several quotas of money, having the money concealed in her hand. So that's in an epitaph for all the people you don't tell lies, and that's the story of Ruth Pierce, another lady of Wiltshire. And the next slide. Going back from Devizes along towards Avebury, along the A361, if you look on the left, you see Big Charrow Monument, and if you look down on your right, you look at the lovely Pewsey Vale, and a smashing little village called Bishop's Cannings. Now, that's floodlit in the Easter and at Christmas. Bishop's Cannings has got St Mary's Church, a big tower with a big spire and a little spire on there. Now the story of this goes that years ago, the villagers, the old moonrakers, that's where they originated from, they thought that if horse and cow manure would make cabbages and potatoes grow, it should make stones grow. So what they wanted to do, they wanted that spire to grow as big as that one. So they went round the fields picking all the horse and cow manure, because I say manure for ladies in the camera, horse and cow, I nearly said this.
You nearly did this afternoon, oh dear.
They got buckets and they went up and they put horse and cow, but it never grew. But people say, well, why has it got a big spire and a little spire? And if you ever ask I back for part 5, I'll show you more slides and tell you why. But that's what they did. They put it round there to make it grow, but it never grew. Next slide. Now this is the churchyard of St Mary's, the consecrated ground in Bishop's Cannings, looking across the tombstones to the haunted house. Now, I don't expect you have heard this, but there's a haunted house in Bishop's Cannings where people did silly things. In the start of about 1806, 1807, in that century, there was a gentleman making up here. He was the top of a hay rick or top of a haystack, and all of a sudden he jumped from the top of that haystack, fell down, broke both his legs, and he was in a terrible state, but he didn't die. That was forgotten about. A few years later, there was a gentleman hanging out these windows, and all of a sudden, for no reason, he jumped out the window, fell on the lawn, badly concussed and bruised, but never broke any bones, thank goodness. That was forgotten about. The third victim was a mother and daughter living in the house, and for no apparent reason, the daughter drank a pint of paraffin, what they use for paraffin lamps lighting, and she jumped down the well. They managed to winch her up before drowning, no worse, well, probably sick. But always the story was the same. Why did you do this? Why did you jump from the hay-rick, jump out the window, jump down the well? And always the answer was the same. There was a ghostly voice in the house compelling me do these things, but I couldn't resist. I had to do what the ghostly voice told me to do in the house. And it was never happened since. But that's the haunted house at Bishop's Cannings. Next slide. Now, there's a nude woman, as I said you would see. This is a place called Cowan, going back to the Cowan Bake Factory. At the Green, it's a posh part. I suppose it's like Broome Manor in Swindon. This is a posh, a wealthy landowner who used to live there years ago, made his money from wool or trade or sheep or cloth. But nowadays, or when I took this slide, there was a mason there. And he decided that he would carve a portrait or a block of his wife. That's the first thing he'd see when he'd get up in the morning, see his wife laid in bed beside him. And I'm sure you can see the anatomy if I say that's her belly button there. Well, that's
Leaning on her hand.
Yeah, she's like that. And that's her toes.